A walking stick, friend or foe, it depends on the person using it, and it depends on how they're using it. A walking stick is meant to be used by those people who really don't need to use it. So why do they use it? Well, just for minimal support when they're doing different activities, when they need to correct their balance, it can be very helpful. The uses are varied, and there again, it's the individual that determines whether it's a good thing or, like that mosquito, not so good thing. When I hold it with a very loose grip, and I'm really only using these first two fingers and my thumb, and the littler fingers are just I'm using that for just a little bit of a support. I want to hold this nice and loose, and it's not impeded by me trying to hold it too tightly. If I'm holding this loose, it'll be exactly where I need it to be because my body and my feet control where the point of this goes into the ground. I'm not controlling that with my hand. And it does that by your hand allowing it to move freely within your hand, within your fingers. In other words, I'm not using this for primary support. I'm really not using it for secondary support. I'm using it just occasionally when I need it to help me in any kind of an imbalanced situation, to use it for a little bit of support. So the design of these walking sticks is meant to be used by those people who really don't need it. When it's mandatory that you have that object with you to walk, in those cases, this is not what you want. Those people with the movement impairments that are beyond mild, like the moderate impaired, they will hold the stick with a tight grip all the time. And what happens when you have that tight grip? What happens when you make that fist? Muscles in your forearm tighten, your whole body tightens. They cause their posture to be more guarded, more stiffened, and it creates added problems for them when they're walking because unlike the person with natural ability or only with mild impairment, using it intermittently for occasional sport. For those that have this moderate movement impairment and beyond, they're using it for all the time sport. They're using it in the same frame of mind as they would use their walker. They can't walk very well to begin with, and they're depending on this walking stick to help them walk better. Well, it's just not going to happen because this walking stick, being just a stick, doesn't offer that much support. Not like your 4-point walker that will allow you to lean on it more. Leaning on this stick can be precarious because if you're not right on it, it can move anywhere. So those people that should not be using it hold it too tight, and they're trying to determine where to put this down with this stiffened arm and posture, where the person with natural ability that has a soft, relaxed hold on the walking stick, their posture and their feet actually position where the stick is going to come down on the ground, and it will be exactly where they need it to be when they need it because the body is moving it as opposed to this stiffened arm. Everything changes as you stiffen. Everything changes as you hold this walking stick too tight. The over-dependence on this causes you to lean into it, changes the pressure on your feet, changes your movement, causes more of a problem So if you want to use a walking stick, first thing you need to do is learn how to walk without it. So what's the difference between these? This one's adjustable. This one is just a fixed. So the adjustment is just moving your hand up or down on the stick to place it where it needs to be for your posture and movement you're about to do. Where should your hand be? It should be just below your elbow. So what does this do? Well, with your hand just below your elbow, the weight of your forearm puts a little bit of pressure on the stick and holds the point of it on the ground. Now this one's fairly heavy. It doesn't need any pressure at all because just the weight of the stick holds it on the ground. Which means when you walk with it, every time this comes off the ground, it's adding weight to your, in this case, to your right side. And if you're not prepared for it, it's going to move you onto the outside of this right foot and it's going to take you to the right. So it's going to change your walk. And now on flat, level ground, that's not too much of a problem. But when you get on a hill or any ankle surface, it becomes a big problem. This collapsible walking stick is very light and it will easily come off the ground. So the pressure again from just your forearm with your hand just below your elbow is enough to keep it down. And it will stay there if you stop messing with it. If you're holding it too tight, you're going to be invariably lifting it off the ground and it will not be where you want it to be when you need it. If you have your hand up too far, if you have your elbow flexed too much, then the pressure you're pushing down is coming from more of your shoulder and or upper arm, pushing too much pressure down, causing you to tighten that grip just a little bit more than you need to. If your stick is too short, you're going to have too much pressure down. This arm is going to be extended a little bit too much, and it's so easy then to start leaning onto it like you would a cane. Not good. That's not the way a walking stick is meant to be used. Now, for any of those situations, if you have natural ability, if you have a mild impairment, you can put your hand wherever you want to on this stick or whatever you're walking on because you can control it. You can adapt to it. So what I'm speaking to here are those people who don't have that natural ability, that are having problems trying to use a walking stick. You can see my hand is close to the level of my elbow. What does this cause? Well, it causes me to be a little more upright when I'm just relaxed. Now, for level ground, that's fine. But even on level ground, if you have this moderate impairment where you're a little bit more guarded, this is going to cause you to be too upright. So what you do, lower it, then you're able to come forward in your posture more naturally, more on your flat feet, more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable. I have a little more angle, my hand and my elbow, and you really don't want it any more than this. And then as you walk, you're not thinking about where does this stick need to be. Forget the stick. Relax your hand. Focus on your feet, not on the stick. And that is a problem that people that shouldn't be using this, that's a problem they have. And they're over focused on where the stick should be, how they should be using it, because they have this tight grip on it because they don't trust themselves on their feet. Relax. Just a couple of fingers here on the top and let it swing. And that is a little bit of wrist action, and these loose fingers are allowing this walking stick to move where it needs to be. So only focusing on my feet, as I start to walk, I'm not moving this. My body is moving it. And it will move according to my stride length. Any movement of my body, if I take these bigger strides, it moves more. If I take small strides, it doesn't move much at all. And now, as you're watching this, watch my elbow, watch my upper arm, watch this lower arm. What's moving? The walking stick as opposed to a cane. Cane, by design, too many people lean onto it. Changes the pressure in your feet. As you lean, let's say you're right onto that cane because they have that handle, they have the curve on the top, but that just makes it convenient to lean on. The walking stick forces you to be more upright, forces you to be more stable in your feet because this is not meant to be leaned on. Not the way you use these. You find yourself leaning onto it all the time, you're not ready for it. What about this? You use it exactly like that light aluminum collapsible person. Hand placement the same, using it the same. The only difference is you have an option. There's an option to where you put your hand. And with relaxability, it doesn't really matter where you put your hand as long as you are comfortable and doing what you want to be doing. As you're walking down a hill, you have a more upright posture. And that means there's further distance between arm here and the ground. So this walking stick is going to be lower down and your elbow is going to be more extended, which means if you're relying on this for your support, you're going to be leaning forward going down the hill, and that's not a good setup to have. Coming up, your posture is going to be forward, and the ground is going to be closer. So this stick needs to be shorter to have you in the correct posture. If it's too high, you're going to be trying to go up that hill standing too upright. So if you're walking on a hill, up or down, you need to adjust this one accordingly. The good part about a walking stick that is one piece is you can change where your hand is on that stick at any time you want. So when you're going uphill, you can lower your hand on this stick. When you're going downhill and more upright, you can put your hand higher on the stick. You must be able to use one of these with a light grip so you're not causing yourself postural changes every time the stick changes position. Going down this hill, it's getting steeper. My hand is starting to go down. I can stop and move my hand back up where I need it. Keep going down very carefully, very small movements, staying in the proper setup posture. And when I get down here in this flatter ground, if I keep my hand here, what's going to happen? I'm pushing too much pressure in it, and it can easily push me back too upright. So you have to remember to move your hand back down to keep your posture where it needs to be. The walking stick can be very handy to give you minimal support when you require it, when you're out here on uneven ground or walking anywhere. But when you abuse it, it will abuse you. Because you will be allowing this to get in the way of what you need to do here, especially down here with your legs and feet and your posture control. This is not meant to save you from disaster. It can help sometimes, but only if you're using it correctly.